Hi folks, we're starting our feeding in the 1911 topics. Today we're going to go over extractor clocking. What does that mean to you? How can you recognize if your extractor is clocking? And how do you remedy that? That's next. Hi folks, Bob from Fusion Firearms again. Today we're going to get into, as I promised, feeding, extraction, ejection issues. We're going to start working on that with the 1911. What do certain things attribute to, and how do you fix those? Today what we're going to do, we'll start with extractor clocking. A lot of people don't understand what the extractor clocking is, and what it basically is when your extractor, while you're firing, is moving because the stop plate is fitted quite sloppily in the actual pistol itself in the slide. So how do you? What are one of the causes when you're shooting of extractor clocking? Well, one is generally you'll see. And again, this is not always the norm, okay, but it is kind of consistent with the issue. Generally, you'll see erratic ejection of your cartridges, meaning, you know, one time it's going here, one time it's going here, one time it's going forward, one time it's going over your head. Now, there are other things that can lead to that happening, okay, but extractor clocking is a big issue with that. So how do you know if you have extractor clocking? And again, so many factory guns that we work on here, the extractors are sloppy to begin with. And a lot of times, for the amount of shooting people are doing, they don't really notice, they don't care. You know, it's still working for them, so it doesn't really bother them. So again, is that an issue for you or not? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, okay? It really, again, depends on the function of the gun. And if the gun's functioning fine, you're happy with it, leave it the way it is. If you do have issues with the ejection, you're not happy with it, then again, this is something to investigate, is extractor clocking. Now, again, what is the extractor? Well, the extractor is right here, and I'll show you some detailed pictures of it in the back of the slide. Again, these slides are pretty much gutted. We took the barrel out and everything, just to kind of show you and focus on this point right now. So how do I usually simply check extractor clocking? Well, I usually use a screwdriver, okay, or I use my favorite scribe here, which I use for almost everything. And what I'll do here is basically I'm just going to take the slide, I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to rub with the stop plate and firing pin in. I'm just going to rub this back and forth on the back flat of the extractor. And when I do that in this gun, I can see it. It's clocking a little bit. Not much, but it is clocking, okay? And what that means is as I move pressure up and down on that flat from the bottom to the top, I can watch this extractor doing this in the gun. Okay, I'm exaggerating with my hand, of course, but that's what I'm saying. It can actually clock, and that's what people mean by clocking extractor. So again, as you're firing and the extractor's moving around, of course, it's putting different tension on the casings feeding up onto the breech face. So again, you're going to get all types of weird ejection at times. And that can be an issue with the clocking. Here's another example of the slide. And again, I'll take my lucky scribe here and I'm going to rub on the back, and no, that doesn't move at all. And we'll show you some close-ups of this also. And you can see as I'm pushing on it, on the top and the bottom, that extractor is dead solid in there, not moving. Okay, so what can attribute to clocking? All right, well, a couple of things. One is extractor tension itself. That can be part of it, and we'll show you a few ways to fix clocking that way. And generally what you'll end up doing if you want to fix your extractor clocking, it's going to be a combination of the extractor barrel itself, which is the back barrel on here, and the actual slide stop itself. Okay, the slide stop, and again, on most mil-spec guns, you're going to find that the slide stop is a drop-in, and that's made that way for a reason, so you can fix it in the field. But generally, when you have a drop-in slide stop, you are going to end up with a little bit of clocking on the extractor because it's not fit real tight to the slide stop, or excuse me, not the slide stop, the firing pin stop. So I kind of screwed that up. So if I said slide stop, I meant firing pin stop. We just did a slide stop video, so I'm on that right now. So anyway, when you go here, if the slide stop is not fit tight, you will get clocking. Slide stop. I just said slide stop again. Okay. Cut. Okay, folks, I'm back. Hopefully I got the slide stop out of my brain, and we're on the firing pin stop, okay? So you guys remind me, okay? Remind me if I say it again wrong, put it in the comments again, you know. Anyway, you can help me clarify what I'm trying to say here. Anyway, it's the slide stop, or the firing pin stop, not the slide stop. Too many videos today. All right, so the firing pin stop, all right? So if that's not tight, again, you'll end up clocking on your extractor. And that'll be one of the causes. So again, how do we correct that? All right, so we'll take let's see here, this pistol or slide here, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take, this is the one that was clocking slightly, and again we'll show you some close-ups of this, and again it's just pressure on the top, pressure on the bottom. So I'm going to take the firing pin stop out. Got it right. Give me a gold star. So how do I take the firing pin stop out? So generally I have a punch like this. Again, it's one of my favorite punches, and you know it's basically an 1/8 inch punch, and I grind a little radius on the end. And what I usually do is I'll put some on a bench block, put some pressure on the top of the slide. You'll see how I'm positioning my fingers. We'll get a couple of close-ups of this also, and I'll push in on the firing pin and just tap slightly on the slide stop, bringing it, see how it dropped right out, and then relax the firing pin spring, and that'll come right out. Okay, so there you have your spring, your firing pin, your slide stop. Now we're going to take the extractor out. Usually on the extractor, I have actually new screwdrivers. This one's a little big. Usually I have the small gray screwdrivers I use, but I've broken them all this week. A little too heavy on the work. But you'll see how this extractor really is kind of loose in this slide, and I can pretty much almost drop it right out. So when I look at the extractor, you know, you have basically in the front you have your extractor hook. You'll have the belly here of the extractor, and you'll have the barrel, which I call this the barrel of the extractor, where you have the groove cut into it for your firing pin stop. So again, now what way do we normally fix this? Most guys will, there's a couple ways of doing this, okay? You get a gunsmith fit firing pin stop, okay? Which again, when I go to put this into the slide, it won't go, all right? So we'll show you how to fit this in the next video, how to fit a firing pin stop plate. And it's a little fat, so we're going to end up putting on a surface grinder, grinding it, radiusing the edges slightly, and then fitting this tightly. And again, that will generally stop for sure your clocking of the extractor clocking back and forth. So that's really the most prestigious way, if you want to call it, the proper way. You know, most guys will want to do it with a like a fit style firing pin stop plate. Now other people, they don't really care about it. They don't want to spend the money. They don't know how to really fit it. They don't have the tools. They don't want to take it to a gunsmith. Regardless, what do you do then? Okay, so there's a couple of ways, and we'll show you some close-ups of this also. One is, obviously, when I put this in here and I check extractor tension, and where do I have right here around? You'll see here, extractor tension on this is actually a little tight even, which is kind of strange. So again, I'll end up retensioning the extractor after all this anyway. But there's two things that you can do to tighten this up, and one is when you're retightening the when you're redoing the extractor tension, either loosening it or tightening it. You know, a lot of people, they want to bend always toward the middle of the extractor, which yes, that's fine, and that is proper. The other thing you can do is actually bend the back of the barrel here slightly, and I'll show you how to do that with just putting the barrel in the vise, bending it this way slightly, which will give you more tension actually act like a clamp and be more tension on the actual firing pin stop plate, so it's not so loose. Okay, so that's one way that we can actually correct what's going on here. Again, I kind of prefer doing it this way with a gunsmith fit firing pin stop, but again, a lot of people do it this way also. Okay, folks, we're going to just show you here prick punching the stop plate. And again, we're using a stainless one here. This is actually a gunsmith one, but we're using this because it's easier for you to see on the video. The black one doesn't really show much. So again, there's a couple ways to skin this cat. You can go there and you can just put those punches toward the edges and deform that material, just as I'm showing you here. Okay. And you can do a few punches on this side also. So again, that's one way to do this. All right, the other way, well, we're going to put it up in the vice jaws, and you can do the back side. So you'll notice on your slide stop here, you've got, nice edges here. So again, you could take it, put it up here in your vise, clamp on those edges that are there, okay? So it cradles it, and then you could just do it on the back side. Okay, so again, you just put some punches, you just deform the metal just a little bit and you burr it up. And again, that's going to make it tighter to go into the pocket in the slide and hopefully help you from the extractor clocking or from the firing pin stop plate falling out of the gun. That's another thing. And then what will that do? Well, that'll generally start giving it, so it gives it, it'll burr up that material and give you a little bit more friction fit going in. Like I can't put that in all the way now without taking a little hammer. I got one of these little hammers and I just jeweler's hammers and tap it up in there. So now you can see it's fitting tighter just from those little bit of prick punch marks and doesn't just fly right out. Now again, the only thing you got to look at, did that really stop your extractor from clocking back and forth? The only way you can really check that is by, putting your extractor back in. And generally when an extractor just falls into the slide like that, it's going to clock almost all the time unless you have a really tight firing pin stop plate. So again, I'll put that up in there. Now I don't have the firing pin or firing pin spring in there, so I'll just hold it with my finger here, my index finger on the bottom, and I'll try to move it. And actually that did tighten it up some. So it's not really clocking very much. It's still got a little bit of clocking on the bottom area, but not as bad as it was. So again, a few more, swage that a little bit more, and that will generally take care of that clocking issue. Now again, when you fix your clocking issue, what do you want to do? Well, you definitely want to check your extractor tension again and then re-tension the extractor, and we'll get into that here shortly in the next couple of videos on doing the extractor tension, which we've done that in the past on the top ends, but we'll do it again and get some more close-ups of that. So again, the other ways, like I said, we can just bend the barrel. We'll show you a close-up of this. I'm going to probably get out of the frame here a little bit. Okay, folks, here we are at the vise. And again, this is just a standard vise. You can buy at any hardware store. It's nothing special. I know I don't have soft jaws in here, and some people are going to be like, oh my, you're going to scratch everything. Well, what I do is I always put rags in the vise, okay? And again, I'm not putting that much pressure on things like this extractor and that. I use rags. I usually use a microcloth. I don't have a microcloth handy here, but we're just going to use this rag for right now. And I'm going to actually clamp this into the vise on the barrel, just lightly, okay? And again, you'll see how it is parallel with the jaws of the vise. And then what am I going to do? I'm just going to take it and I'm going to bend it. So I'm actually putting the pressure, so my fulcrum point, if you want to call it, is going to be back here by the barrel, okay? Let me get my favorite little scribe here, and it's going to be back here by the barrel. So I'm going to put more tension in this area right here, so it's actually bending that barrel, and it's going to create kind of a clamping effect of the barrel. Now, we already had heavy extractor tension on the cartridge when we had this in, it was almost like falling into the gun. So obviously this front section, I'm going to have to bend the front of the hook out this way, okay, when I do this. And again, we're doing it this way. Why? Because it's just another option for not fitting a gunsmithing fit firing pin stop plate. So again, it's just another option. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to take it, and usually I just take my fingers and I just give it a little bend. Okay, and once that bend is done, and you'll see, even the vise, I don't have it excessively tightened. I mean, I'm tightening this vise with one finger. That's the only pressure I got on it. Very, very slight pressure. All right, so then what am I going to do? I'm going to grab my slide. I'm going to take this, and I'm just going to see how this is going to fit in here. And it's still a little looser than I like on the back. So you take it in a little bit of stages here. So I'm going to take it again, clamp it in here again. I'm one actually finger. And I'm going to take it, a little bit more pressure on it. Look at it, you'll start seeing it. It'll have a nice curved bend to it. Take it. Oh yeah, now I can feel a little bit of tension. So what we'll do now is we'll see how this works with over here with the clocking. Okay folks, now we just finished bending the back barrel here slightly, and we'll put it into the slide, and then you'll feel the resistance. There's more resistance, kind of locks into place nicely. Now I'm not even going to put the firing pin or spring in yet. I'm going to take the stop plate, tap that into place. And I'm going to check my clocking now. Ah, beautiful. No clocking at all. Very nice. Okay, so, you know, again, that worked out perfect. Again, it'll work better. You won't have the extractor slopping back and forth in there. One other trick as you work on the extractor, you know, and bend the extractor slightly. If you bend the back of the barrel, sometimes it's a little bit harder to get out of the slide. And if you take a screwdriver and start reefing on it from back here, you're usually going to get scratch lines on the back of your slide. So again, Mr. Index card, I take an index card, just put it over the top like that. Take your screwdriver underneath and then start pulling it up. You'll see it'll start coming out. I'm hooked on the breech face here a little bit, so I'm going to go in here. I'm just going to push on that hook just a hair, pushing it in, and then it will start coming out more, pop out more. And there you go, extractor back out. So again, we'll show in the next video fitting the gunsmithing style stop plate, and you know, that, like I said, that's the most proper way of doing this. But again, this is the old school way of a lot of people in the field would fix their 1911s by just, you know, taking a prick punch, punching those side plates there. You know, or bending the back of the extractor barrel. Now again, once you've done that, what do you got to do? Again, you got to take a dummy round and check your extractor tension. Always check your extractor tension again, because that's going to definitely change as you change the dynamics of the extractor itself. So you definitely want to go ahead and check your extractor tension, and we'll get into that too again in the next few videos. You know, tension in the extractor, because that's part of your feeding and function also for that. Okay guys, thank you very much. We'll have more videos coming soon. Thank you for all the support.